So staff casting, butterfly transformations, fluid weapon switching, explosive traps and a flying rat out of a bear's arse. That last one I don't think any of us were expecting. Now, the last time I jumped into Soulframe was about 9-10 months ago with Preludes 7. It is now on Preludes 10, and the footage that they showed off for us with the Tale of Bromius was Preludes 11. So a lot has changed since the last time I stepped foot in the game. However, over the last few days I have jumped back into it, and the first thing I noticed was how much better the combat was. It feels weighted, it feels more fluid between casting spells and those melee hits, as well as the parries and dodge, and the hitching that you used to get on enemy hitboxes where it would feel like it was rubber banding a bit or you would get stuck is no longer an issue. And they've added a lot more content, like the Crypt of the Circade event, which is running right now, a dungeon full of puzzles that gives a free armor set, and an amulet that gives you +1 to all weighted stats like Grace, Spirit and Courage. And you can find sidearm pieces in some of the dungeon chests. It is a pretty small dungeon, but the puzzles are really well thought out, which seems to be a theme that they're going for with a lot of their dungeons. A lot of the dungeons do have mini puzzles in them that give you special rewards. Now, it is still pretty bare bones, the game, and a little bit directionless in terms of, I guess, quest progression or telling you where to go and what to do, but we know that that is something that they're working on, and it was something that they mentioned during TennoCon. Right now, it's basically just a big open world with a lot of exploration to find things out for yourself, find the armor sets, find the weapons, do the pacts. I think there's like 7 pacts right now. And then, of course, find the resources and craft everything you want while then leveling them and your account up. Which brings us to, of course, TennoCon, because during TennoCon we got a proper deep dive into what Soulframe is shaping up to be, between the new weapons, the new armor, the new mechanics, and of overall, I guess, the way that they are approaching the game's progression. Now, it is clear that DE are really leaning into making this feel like something different, but still with a little bit of familiarity if you come from a Warframe background. So let's go through everything that was shown and talk about what it means for Soulframe going forward. Now, the Fable of Bromius was basically a full mission that they showcased where you're tracking a corrupted bear through the woods while learning a little bit about what might be corrupting nature, and then trying to save Bromius to get his pact or his class, his abilities, which do look like they may be courage or melee based. Maybe it's going to be tank based. If you're from Warframe background, then pacts are kind of like your Warframes. They give you a set of abilities. Right now there is 7 pacts in the game, from range to caster to tank to healer, and Bromius is going to be pact number 8. Now, visually and from an audio perspective, the Tale of Bromius looked and sounded absolutely amazing. The songs, as they kicked in, ramped up at the right moment, and it was beautifully kind of eerie to match the setting that you were in as well. But that's kind of to be expected with DE at this stage. Music is one of the things that they do incredibly well. But the combat segments that changed from when I last played the game is very noticeable. You've got parries, melee combos, magic abilities and ranged options all at your disposal, but what really stood out was how freely the character was switching between them mid-fight. 1 second they were using a sword or a sidearm to parry attacks, then they were switching to a bow for ranged headshots, then they were using their staff to cast spells, like that decoy that kind of taunted enemies but had a massive head and then it exploded, dealing a lot of damage, or they were turning into a swarm of butterflies in order to evade detection. Then you can just kick a Brussels sprout in the face. No green veggies for you. So it looked really, really good and really fluid. Now, the whole mission shows plenty of combat with bosses or mini bosses like the Wizard of Wastes fight, and of course the Waste Bear at the end, which is the corrupted version of Bromius. Basically a giant bear twisted by the world's magic. The fight itself looked like it had weight behind it, the attacks. It had telling patterns for dodging as well, and it looked like you could be punished if you messed up an opening. Basically, it looked promising. Now, they announced that armor will now have stat values, whereas before this it was only just cosmetic. So your armor now grants physical, magic and stability defenses, which is currently in the game with Preludes 10. They plan to improve their moat system, which reminds me very heavily of Warframe's modding system. Basically, you're going to be able to put, I think it's 3 moats on any of your weapons, which will totally shift how that weapon could perform, or weight it into maybe Grace, Courage or Spirit, depending on what moat you are going to be equipping. They're also adding weapon weapon techniques that each of your characters can learn from ancestors and quests. These will then change your character's fighting style and make them more unique. So you could, I guess, focus more on parrying or focus more on dodging for one character and then do the opposite for a different, depending on what kind of playstyle you like or what kind of weapon you like using. We know that they're adding new materials for crafting your weapons, which will allow for more rarities, which I think are in the game right now, up as far as some of the blessed joineries. They of course plan to add more fables or more quests. They do plan to update the new player experience, and they want to add more character customization like transmogs and stuff like that as well, and of course to allow your characters to look more unique. So they plan to add a lot more content over the next year or so. They did also say that they want you to be able to mix weapon types together so that you won't be locked into any single build. They want to encourage you to be able to swap weapons on the fly, basically experiment with different setups. Also, the game right now, okay, Soulframe, is in its Preludes phase. Basically, it's pre-alpha that they've been updating since about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. But during CanoCon, they did open public sign-ups to anyone who had previously signed up, which means I think they opened the door to another 800,000 plus players. So right now, the game is very active. And if you do jump in, pay attention to the in-game chat, because there is plenty of helpful advice going around. Because the game right now doesn't really have a wiki like what Warframe has, because a lot of stuff is constantly changing. And the good news, I guess, is that they also confirmed no progress will be wiped from this point onwards. So if you are planning on playing, everything, of course, from this point onwards will carry forward unless something fundamentally breaks the game, which is something that they said for Warframe back in 2012, 2013, that there was going to be no wipes unless something broke, and they never wiped anything because nothing ever broke the game. So it's a clear sign that they're confident in what they have right now, even if it is still in a very pre-early access phase. And they just plan to add to the structure of what's currently in the game. So overall, Soulframe is slowly but surely defining its own identity. It's not trying to be Warframe 2. It's not trying to, I guess, have you speed running through missions. Its combat is tight, the world is immersive, and the direction is clearly built around storytelling and having a personal connection with nature and I guess everything that's in it. It is a game that is way more chill rather than having you blast through it again like Warframe. The world itself is absolutely beautifully made, and they are constantly adding new features to it and new characters to it, which are going to expand the narrative and allow you to figure out who, I guess, is the bad guys, and probably put names to them so that you can actually put a face to the name or a name to the face and vice versa. It is, like I said, in pre-alpha right now. If you have signed up in the past, then you should have gotten an email letting you know that you can now download it and jump in. Like I said, it's going to be worthwhile because nothing is going to be wiped from this point onwards. So jump in, see if it's going to, I guess, vibe with you, if it's your kind of game or not. If it isn't, then it isn't. If it is, then it is. But do me a favour, let me know in the comment section below what you think of it if you do jump in. I am jumping back onto it on stream, so you're welcome to hang out on my stream and ask any questions that you want to in relation to the game. But other than that, have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.